freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 447 of Gun Freedom Radio, where we engage, we educate, and we inform. We are brought to you by azfirearmsauctions.com, where you set the price on guns, ammo, and accessories. I am one of your hosts, Cheryl Todd.
And I'm the other guy, Dan Todd. Our theme today, I want music. I want Western music to this. A lawman in Lawless, DC. And our guest is Sheriff Mark Lamb. Mark is the Pinal County Sheriff and candidate for the United States Senate in the 2024 Arizona U.S. Senate race. As a constitutional conservative, and I mean a constitutional conservative, Sheriff Lamb has always been a strong supporter of our Second Amendment rights and the enforcement of all of our laws, including those that pertain to fighting illegal immigration, and he is determined to protect the rights and freedoms of the people who he serves.
Welcome back to the show, Sheriff Mark Lamb.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Dan. And kudos to you, 447 episodes. That is awesome, by the way.
Thank
really
you.
Good.
Thank
I'm
you.
just honored to be on the show today, too. I know you guys, you're such strong Second Amendment supporters, and most people, I'm sure your listeners do know just the role you play on a state level every year doing our gun, what do we call it?
The rally, celebrate
rally
and protect the Second Amendment
down
rally.
At the Capitol. I love it. And you are the catalyst to that. So thank you for all you do.
Well, thank you. It's an honor, honestly, to get to do what we do. I would have never guessed in a million years that I would be doing this kind of work. And now I feel so blessed because I get to meet amazing people like you that are doing work worthy of support. And I mean, you've already been serving for all these years as a lawman. And that's why I chose the title for this, a lawman in Lawless, DC. Like, what made you say, all right, the next logical step is to, go into that snake pit that we know is DC and become a senator? What is it that you feel is driving that for you?
Well, first of all, I may steal that as a title to one of my books, Lawman in Lawless DC. That sounds like a great title for a book.
It is
yours. As soon as I get to DC and we start to put the new sheriff in town there, this was not on our list of things to do. It was not at all. I wasn't interested in going to DC. My wife and I, this is a lesson to everybody. Don't make fun of people running statewide races and talk about how crazy they are, because now I'll look at where I'm at. My wife and I, we just, the last cycle, we thought, oh my goodness, how awful this is to have to run a statewide race. Well, here we are now. Really what it boiled down to is we started seeing especially after the results of the last election and just the border problems and all these issues. We finally my wife and I said, we were looking for reasons why not to do it. Then all of a sudden we started feeling compelled to do it. And we started kind of going down that road, and we got to December and we were pretty sure we were going to do it. And then obviously many people know, tragically, we lost my 22-year-old son, my middle son, my 11-month-old granddaughter, and my soon-to-be daughter-in-law, who had lived with us for years, by the way. So she was like a daughter to us. We lost all three of them in a blink of an eye to a DUI driver. He hit and killed all three of them. And at that point, we weren't interested in anything. We weren't interested in running for sheriff, Senate, not even really interested in getting out of bed. And it was probably 3 weeks later that somebody said something, and it was the first spark I had since losing him. And it was referenced the Senate. And at that point, my wife and I, we looked at each other and we knew there is no guarantee for tomorrow. And the only thing we take with us in this life is what we do. And we knew at that point we needed to do this. And plus, there's an old Danish saying that says, whoever has the ability has the responsibility.
Oh, wow.
And when we looked at the issues of the border, the economy, crime, national security, there is no candidate that brings the experience to the table that I bring in those issues. You know, nobody is going to be more experienced in the border. I do this every day. These are not talking points for me. We live it. We fight it. We do it every day. We have the relationships. We understand the complexities of it. We understand the federal law, the state law. We understand the Constitution and the requirements of the federal government on that end. There's no other candidate that's run a large budget. I know I'm kind of going on and probably, but there's no other candidate that brings that's run a large agency, a large budget of over $60 million. Well, it's not trillions. I have still balanced a government budget and I stay within that budget. And then I've spent the last 2 decades fighting and reducing crime and fighting crime. And we need a real lawman now in this country. And we need it in DC, like you said, a lawman in lawless DC. And then national security is border security right now. So when my wife and I, it just wasn't in my nature to stand there and do nothing while the building burned to the ground, knowing I was capable of doing something. Nor is it in my nature to wait for somebody else to run into the building. And so we made that decision. We were going to do it. We felt like Jonah being called to go to Nineveh. And we figured we may as well go straight to Nineveh and bypass the being in the belly of the fish. We just said we were going to go straight to Nineveh. And one more thing, you mentioned that it's a viper pit, a snake pit there. Oh. Do you know how they make anti-venom for snake bites?
How's that?
They actually use lambs and sheeps, sometimes horses, but they use lambs and sheeps because they are very robust, sturdy animals that are really tolerant to snake venom. And they will give them the snake venom and then they will pull the blood back out and they will use it as an anti-venom. So I always make the joke that I am the anti-venom to the snake pit that Washington, D.C. is. We need some lamb blood out there in D.C. So for all those reasons, we're here. But I would say that losing our children was probably the most impactful reason for us running. It gave us a real purpose. And this race is tough and you need purpose to get through it. So I apologize for going on so long.
Not even a little bit. That was perfect. And I do want to say, we grieve with you. I'm so sorry for unimaginable losses of those 3 precious souls. Of course, we do have the hope in heaven, but it's still so hard. And you gave me goosebumps talking about that comparison to the lamb and the snake venom. And I think it's so perfect. And my favorite, we actually, in all disclosure, I did buy 2 of your t-shirts, and I love the saying on these t-shirts. They said, "Tell them I'm coming."
I love that. And that is my challenge coin has the same thing. Tell them I'm coming, because that's what DC needs. They need to know that not just the sheriff's coming. We, the people, are coming. We're coming to take our country back. That is the power of it. That should cause them to shake in their boots, because they have shown total disrespect and disregard for the American people, for the Constitution, for the sacrifices of the founding fathers that built this country and gave us freedom, only to have career politicians who are more concerned about money for them and their friends and power than they are about doing what's right for the American people. So we're fed up with it. We're going to do something about it. And my wife and I are just determined to be free. We're patriots who love this country, and we're going to do everything we can in our power to save it.
I love it.
We have senators that represent Arizona right now that swore to the Constitution that are not following the Constitution. And I just want to add that you have been a sheriff in Pinal County for many years. I have seen clips where criminals have praised you for following the Constitution, and they respect you for that.
That's true.
And I do not know any man on this earth that is more on the Constitution than you are. And I thank you for that.
Well, thank you. And it is a big thing for me. You know, like people will ask all the time, what's it like? How are you going to transition from going from sheriff to Senate? And really, I'm going to break it down and simplify it for you. It shouldn't matter what position, whether you're a school board, whether you're at a city level, county level sheriff, or a senator or a congressman. You swear an oath. Okay, your oath that you swear is to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And so I don't think that there is a big difference of being a sheriff or a senator. While the work may change a little bit and what I'm required to do, the idea is the same. You're sending me there to protect your constitutional rights and to protect you from the bad guys. As a senator, I view it in a very simplified way. My job will be to go to DC and to ensure that the constitutional rights of the citizens of Arizona and America are being protected and upheld. That includes the 10th Amendment, which allows the states to be able to do what they're supposed to do. That includes the Second Amendment, the First Amendment. All of these things are under attack. And we need elected officials that understand that. And when you really break it down beyond what the job requirements are, I would rather have a guy who I know is going to protect the Constitution. Yeah. That is what's more important to me. And not only have I done the job, I've done it as a sheriff. And thank you, Dan. I take great pride knowing when people say, hey, even if I don't agree with him, he followed the Constitution. And I've done it even when I know that we could have solved the crime, but the Constitution, it would have violated somebody's constitutional rights to do it. We had to find a different way. We had to find a way that with the evidence, because if the constitutional rights are going to be violated in any way, we can't do it. That's not I won't do it. And I won't do it in the Senate either.
So what is your biggest, strongest thing that you want to do when you become a senator?
So number one issue is the border. We have to get the border under control. It is the greatest national security threat. It is also the greatest threat to Americans. Not only do we have people coming from 170 different countries, and this is really where it's changed. It used to be for decades, it was people predominantly coming from Mexico, maybe a few from Guatemala. Over the last 3 years under this administration, it has completely changed. Now they're coming from all over the world, 170 different countries, predominantly military age men. There's along with that, 140,000 plus a year is about the average for unaccompanied minors that the government has no idea where they are. We should be concerned about the trafficking of women and children. But let's talk about the national security threat of letting people come in from Syria, from Iran. About 700 came in from Iran that we know of between 21 and 23. That number's probably increased. We've got 30,000 from Turkey. We've got 37,000 from China last year. And then this year is already over 30,000. That should be concerning. We've got them coming from the Islamic Republic of Mauritania in Africa. That's a concern. The other piece of that is concerning is what is a terrorist threat and what is a threat to Americans? I would say it's anything that costs American lives, right? I think we'd all agree.
Yeah.
Fentanyl poisoning has become the leading cause of death in America between the ages of 18 to 45. And that fentanyl poisoning is being brought by China, put into the hands of the cartels. The cartels then bring it into America. It is now killing over 100,000 Americans without setting off a single bomb or firing a single gun. They have successfully killed more American citizens every year than any army has ever had success killing. So I would say that the greatest threat is what's happening at our southern border. So I think day number one, that has to be, hopefully we're working with President Trump to fix these issues and get it back, get the border secured. And then we're going to start going after all these unconstitutional things that are happening in this country. We're going to start to restore the rights of the states. We're going to start protecting Second Amendment rights. We're going to ensure that our First Amendment rights are protected and every other constitutional right. We're going to have to really, I mean, I've been watching these congressional hearings with the director of the ATF the last couple of days.
Madness.
Appalling.
Yes.
Madness. I mean, I think at this point, I hardly find it even redeemable. You know, they added the explosives because the alcohol, tobacco, and firearms are all legal issues. Let's find something that's not illegal that we can. I always found it funny that the government had an agency that would oversee legal issues, you know? So I think we've got a lot of work to do, and we need strong senators that understand the balance of the rule of law to cut into a lot of these federal government agencies, law enforcement agencies that have completely gone rogue, or at least they're not serving the American people.
You know, I want to interrupt on that. The ATF thing, I listened to it too, all I could listen to for like 4 hours. And the other side, not one time are they questioning why they turned the body cameras off and why they blocked his video camera on his house. And why would you go hard like that on such a minor law? I mean, minor offense. So this has really got me. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to add to that. They were going to serve that a few days before. There's a video of them at a parking lot of Walmart, and they were going to serve the warrant before, but he wasn't there, which really honestly would have been a good time to serve the search warrant.
Yeah, because it wasn't an arrest
warrant.
warrant.
He's not there, then serve the search warrant. But they didn't serve it then. They made sure that they wanted to make sure he was there. From a law enforcement perspective, and I don't know all the details, but based on what I was hearing, I have a lot of concerns with how they executed that search warrant. And they really did put into maximum risk the life of that person and the other agents.
Yes.
That was the thing. The man being questioned, the head of the ATF, he kept saying, well, you know, our agents have a right to go home alive. And I'm like, well, okay, but how many different ways could you have done this that you weren't needlessly endangering them and the guy you were serving the warrant on? It's just complete heavy-handedness, really out of control tactics from what we can see at this point. And something our listeners always like to hear from people running for office, whether it's, you know, somebody specific to Arizona or all across the nation, is what is the red line in the sand that you will not cross when it comes to our right to keep and bear arms, the Second Amendment?
The Constitution. That's the red line.
Why is that such a hard question to answer for some people?
It is. It's not a hard question. It's the Constitution is the red line, and they've already passed it. They're doing their best they can, and these hearings show you just how hard they're working to take away our Second Amendment rights on a federal level. They've already done it on a state level, and this is why state elected officials are so important, because in Arizona, we have really great gun laws, which are really close to the Second Amendment the way it should be. There's still some problems, but it's mainly on the federal end on that. But there are states like New York and other states that have completely abandoned their Second Amendment rights, which I think should ultimately be overturned, because I think on a federal level, they violate the Second Amendment. I know they should be overturned. But many of those states are run by liberals and run by progressives and socialists, and they don't want to challenge it all the way to the Supreme Court, because they know they love the laws. So I think the red line is the Constitution. It's very simple. The founding fathers must be rolling over in their graves. They said, let's make this one as really simple as possible. Shall not be infringed. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Nobody can mess that up. Socialists can.
Hold my beer, right?
Progressives, Democrats can. They can mess it up.
And they do at every turn. They try to make it needlessly complicated. And even things that sound like they might be good, but they don't actually do good. Things like red flag laws. You know, when you're in law enforcement, in some of these states, they've already passed these red flag laws. And law enforcement, they have to enforce the law. So they have to go in and enforce this Constitution stomping, individual right killing measure. What is your take on that? How can law enforcement agencies, which really we're getting off the topic of the Senate right now for a minute, but how can they resist these ridiculous things that really what it is a gun confiscation scheme, but it sounds like it's a mental health issue?
Yeah. Look, I hate red flag laws. Thomas Paine said the greatest tyrannies are always perpetrated in the name of the noblest causes. And what they do is they take these shootings, which are really not even one-offs. They are 0.0001 offs of behavior from people who own guns. And most of these folks were criminals anyway, or they had serious mental health problems. A red flag law wasn't going to stop that. You know, a red flag law is ultimately designed to take away guns from law-abiding citizens. They will tell you it's for the people that have mental health issues, but it's really for the law-abiding citizens. And really, it's unconstitutional on so many levels. It is unconstitutional on the Second Amendment. It is unconstitutional on the Fifth Amendment because you have no due process. Now, I heard him say the other day, Dallenbach or whatever his name is, he says there's due process. What they're doing, though, is they're going out and arresting you and taking away your rights, and then they're saying you have due process after. That's BS. The due process should exist long before, and frankly, you shouldn't even have these red flag laws. I have a newsflash for you. If you want freedom, it comes with risk. There is no trade-off. There is no alternative. If you want freedom, it comes with risk. If you want the freedom to keep and bear arms, there is a risk that somebody with mental health issues may abuse that.
Absolutely.
If you want freedom of speech, there is a risk that somebody may say something you don't like. There is always a risk when it comes with freedom. There is no trade-off to it. The only other alternative is government controls everything you do and say, everything you own. I'm not okay with that. And the Second Amendment is their window that they see to get into the Constitution. If you allow them, and you said it, Cheryl, you said there's a lot of people that kind of, even Republicans will do this. I hear them sometimes saying, yeah, well, I don't know if you need a 30-round mag. Stop right there. If you give the government an inch, they will take a mile. I don't care if you think I need a 30-round magazine or not. My constitutional right says I have the right to keep and bear arms. And so don't fall down that trap, because they're using this to get into the Constitution. Yeah. Because if you think they're going to stop at the Second Amendment, you're kidding yourself. The very next one, and because the guns are no longer in play, they will go hard after the First Amendment. You will no longer be able, maybe it's you can only speak freely on Wednesdays. And maybe the freedom of press can only put out a paper on Sundays. Or maybe you can only go to church once a month. Don't think that this is out of that I'm being ask the Babylon Bee. Coming up with stuff that is satire anymore is very difficult. Absolutely. We are this close to losing everything. And the Second Amendment is the camel's nose in the tent that they want to try to get in the tent on. So you talk about that red line that we do not cross. Part of it is the Second Amendment in its role in the Constitution, and it's the Constitution.
Well, it's so true. And I think people have such a misunderstanding of what our Bill of Rights really are. It's not, this is what the government allows you. These are the things the government, it's the firewall the government has to stay on the other side of. And it's gotten all mashed up. And it's up to us right now, today, to start setting the record straight and setting the line back where it lands. Because, we open this show every time with a quote from President Ronald Reagan that says, we are one generation away from our rights and freedom being extinguished. We are less than that. We are about an election away, right, from all of our freedoms being extinguished. And that has happened in large part on our watch. We're grandparents now. And the day is coming when we're going to hand the keys over to the next generation. And what are we handing them the keys to? Some beat up old rust bucket of a nation that, has bald and flat tires? What are we doing?
That you have somebody telling you whether you can and cannot drive it.
Exactly.
That is what's happening. And let me tell you one of the problems of where we've gone off the rails, and Republicans are guilty of this. And I hear this term used more and more and more every day, and they use it in a way to scare people. And I will tell you, this is why we're at the point we're at. It's going to make sense in a second. The term is democracy. They use the
Yep.
term democracy, and we are not a democracy. I don't know
Thank
how
you.
many times I have to say this. We are a constitutional republic. And when I hear Joe Biden and all these politicians saying, well, this is a threat to democracy and this, the reason they're able to attack the Second Amendment, the First Amendment, is when you call it a democracy, just so you know, is mob rule.
Yes.
Mob rule means the loudest voice gets their way. It doesn't mean that's what the rest of America thinks. It's what the loudest voice wants. And that's how we've lost so many of our constitutional rights. If we saw this, and if our politicians referred to it for what it was, which is a constitutional republic, then we would not be in the position we are in, because we would understand that we are looking to do the will of the consent of the governed, that we are, this is the will of the people. They're the ones that get to dictate. And we are merely the people in DC or at a state level that are executing what the people want, and not the mob mentality or the voice of the small. So the reason we're losing the election, and I don't mean the small people, I mean the voice of the minority of the people.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
losing this country. We're losing our constitution because we've started calling it a democracy, and it is not. This is a constitutional republic. The people have all the power.
Amen.
I shouldn't say this probably, but I don't care what the people want. What I want is the Constitution. That's it. The
Yeah.
Constitution.
That's it.
If you
Why
don't
more
like the
people want the
Constitution,
Constitution?
if you don't like the Constitution, then I heard that Cuba's got pretty good rent over there for apartments,
Yeah.
right?
Hey,
But I mean,
listen.
you live here, you follow the Constitution, everything's going to be perfect, right? Just follow the Constitution.
That's it. And you know what? It may be hard sometimes.
Yes.
And
Sure.
and the way it's supposed to work is government in the preamble to the Constitution. It says, "We the people of the United States," and this is government's role. We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice. So don't undermine the rule of law. The founding fathers knew how important that was. One of the most important things. Ensure domestic tranquility. We're supposed to be protecting our borders. We're supposed to be encouraging behavior that is pro-law enforcement, encourages domestic tranquility. We're supposed to provide for the common defense. That means we have to have a good, strong military, because you only get peace through strength.
Yep.
And then we should be promoting, this is the key word, promoting the general welfare, not providing for the general welfare. It is not society's job to pay your rent and to do all those things for you. Yes, do we have fail-safes for those who cannot do it? Yes. But it is not designed to cover everybody who decides they don't want to work. This is to promote. And the way you do that is reduce taxes. You reduce the restrictions on government. You give people the ability to live freely, to go out and purchase. Give them the ability to create. That's what promoting the general welfare means. And then the last is to secure the blessings of liberty for ourselves and our posterity. We have that. That's what the Constitution is for. That's what the government's role is. And we need people that understand that. And
Absolutely.
that are not going to overstep into other areas where they shouldn't be.
That's fantastic. So, our local media here, we have a radio station in Arizona that is KTAR, and our daughter listens to it on the way home. And, generally her hair is on fire by the time she gets home, because they are, the media, they always want to stir the pot. They want to, promote things that maybe are controversial rather than just offering information. And so, we've known your family for quite a while. You and Janelle are awesome friends of ours. And so she gets home and she's like, Mom, this Senate race is not over. It's not decided. We haven't had the primary yet, but KTAR is acting like it has been. And they're not even mentioning Mark Lamb as a candidate who's a very serious and strong candidate for Senate. What is that about? And so I said, I'm not really sure, but it is, consider the source. It is KTAR. We started on KTAR and had to leave because they found out we were talking about guns. And they said, we don't do that. We don't do that on KTAR. So that kind of tells you a lot. But what is your take on that whole thing?
I'm good friends with Mike Broomhead. Mike's really been fair to me, and he's said some good things. But for the most part, it's not just KTAR. It's a lot of the media, the local media, even on a national level for the most part. And here's what I tell people. The media is not in the business. If you're looking to the media to find the best candidate for you for Senate or for any elected office, that's not what they're here for.
No.
They're here to make money. They're all for-profit organizations. And so they're going to find the candidates or the people that sell the most articles or that get the most clicks for them. That's how they make money. So please do not look to them to find the best candidate for you. You're going to have to do some work on your own. And that's part of the reason I've been out all over the state. And I would just really encourage you. Look, the Senate position is one of the highest elected official offices in the state of Arizona and in the country. There's only 100. This is not a position that you want to put somebody that has no experience in.
Yeah.
And what I told you from the beginning, I'm a twice elected official. I've won 2 elections. I know what it's like to work in government. I've been down at the legislature and I've testified on behalf and against bills. I've helped write bills. I've been to Congress and testified in DC. I have managed a large budget. I have still to this day am actively out fighting the border issue with my own 2 hands, let alone running an agency that does. We are out every day securing the domestic tranquility of our people. We're out fighting against crime, trying to reduce crime. This is the experience we need now. The risks are too high. I'm tired of losing. We cannot afford to send people that are not qualified for the job. And I'm not talking DC politics qualifications. I'm not endorsed by any of the DC people. You know why? Because I'm not establishment. They want somebody that's going to toe the line. That's not me.
Yeah.
If you want a constitutional guy that's going to fight for you, that owes nobody, I have no favors that I owe anybody, then I'm the guy. That's how I've been the sheriff. That's how I'll be the senator. And so while the media may not talk about me, I love Sun Tzu's Art of War. If you read that book, doesn't mean that we're not winning battles on the ground. It's actually cleared the battlefield for us in many ways. And I'm on the ballot. So in the end, they can not talk about me all they want. The fact is my name's on the ballot and the people will have the opportunity to vote for me. And I think we've done a really good job of getting out throughout the state. And we feel very confident about, based on what we see and the interactions we've had and the internal polling, that we will be victorious on July 30th. And that we are the best candidate, as the polls have recently showed. I'm the only candidate that has the chance of winning the general election for the Republican Party.
That's fantastic. And
Wait.
their lack of endorsement is actually an endorsement, right? So
That's right.
if the
That is the
swamp
best
of
endorsement I
DC
could get.
So wait,
Exactly.
Mark, I don't want to get off the couch, and you're telling me that I can't trust the media to who to vote for. Can I at least trust the actors and actresses who know nothing about common sense life? Can I at least ask them who to vote for?
Please don't.
But how many of them have had to eat crow and then they just pretend like, oh, I didn't support Biden. They don't even talk about it. They just pretend like we're going to forget about that.
Right.
No. And look, those folks in Washington or in Hollywood are probably more disconnected than the people in Washington, D.C. are,
Yes.
as far as what the American people think and feel. I'm a normal guy. I live paycheck to paycheck. I am not a wealthy guy. As a matter of fact, doing this Senate race has made me realize how broken our system is, because whether it's governor or whether it's Senate or whether it's a lot of these positions, unless you are independently wealthy, they are very difficult to run for, which in and of itself is a problem for us, because that's why we continue to get the same type of people. You know, we've always heard that quote that power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. I heard a variation of that quote. It says, it's not that absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's that absolute power is a magnet for the corruptible. And that's why in politics, we seem to continue to get the corruptible. I did not set out to do this. I got into the sheriff's race because I thought leadership and law enforcement needed to be better. And I thought I wanted to do my part to protect the Constitution and to protect the rule of law. So I ran for sheriff. I didn't want to be the guy that complained but didn't do anything.
Mhm.
Now I'm running for the Senate because I don't want to be the guy that complains and doesn't do anything about it. And I'm running for it because I actually have the skill set. I would feel less of a man if I stood there and did nothing about it, knowing that I could have really helped out at the Senate level. And in the end, if the voters choose not to choose me, that's okay. I'm okay. I'm a God-fearing person. And if God wanted me in this race, the outcome is in his hands.
Yeah.
All I can do is work hard and have a good attitude and let the people make their choice.
Absolutely. And just knowing you as a person, you are going to serve somewhere. It's just who you are. It's just how you're built. And so, of course, I would love to see that we have a Mark Lamb up against a Mark Kelly in the Senate. And that's the dichotomy that we have in Arizona until at such point we can pry Mark Kelly out of the other Senate seat. That would be a wonderful thing.
I think Mark Lamb can send the other guy back to space.
Yeah,
where
there
he
we go.
belongs, put him on a rocket ship, send him out. He has done nothing. Well,
Arizona is one of the weirdest states because not weird in the sense we're not weird. It's a very conservative state. The people are very conservative, but we've allowed our politics to be very not conservative. And we have an opportunity to take that back. Like you kind of basically said just now, Cheryl, we have an opportunity to reverse course.
Mhm.
And this Senate seat is a really good spot to do it. And we can offset that other side and for the next 4 years until we can get somebody else in on the other side, somebody that's going to follow the Constitution, really adhere to the principles that our founding fathers set forth. And that's really what I'm laser focused on doing. I have spent a career doing it. I would love to serve the people of Arizona I don't necessarily want to go to Washington, D.C. That should tell you how much I love freedom. That should tell me how much I love Arizona and America, that I'm willing to go to D.C. to do this. But we've got to have a fighter. We've got to have a conservative, a constitutional, proven conservative leader and fighter in D.C.
Absolutely.
And you are proven. That's no doubt about
That's
it.
the
Not
thing.
even quite a question.
So as we
Thank
close out, and thank you so much for all of your time. You are such a busy guy. You are out there. You are everywhere. I mean, every time I open up social media, I'm like, oh my gosh, now he's in another part of the state. But tell folks how they can follow the work that you're doing, how they can support, because we know that campaigns run on people power and they run on money power. So how can people support you, and do they have to live in Arizona? Because we have viewers and listeners all over the planet, actually, definitely across the nation. What are the rules and how do people help?
Well, thank you for bringing that up. You can go to sherifflamb.com or sherifflambforsenate.com. Both of them will get you there. You can donate there. If you live in the state of Arizona, you can donate. If you live outside of the state of Arizona, but in the United States, you can donate. If you live in another country, you can pray for me. If you live in another state, I know people think, well, that's Arizona. I'm telling you, there's only 100 senators, and the senator in Maine and the senator in Florida and the senator in Nebraska have just as much of an impact on Arizona as I will on those states, because we vote not on state issues. We vote on federal issues that affect all 50 states. So it is in your best interest to make sure no matter what state you live in, that we have a good, strong, conservative senator in the state of Arizona that's going to protect your constitutional rights, your Second Amendment rights, and every other thing, and restore this country to what our founding fathers intended. That is the type of candidate you want. You can donate. Please donate across the country. This is how we keep our campaigns going. We've had donations from all 50 states. So, and if you want to volunteer, you can get on our website there and click volunteer. And then you can join in on our campaign as well. We will take all the support we can get. You can donate $5, $10, $20, $100. The maximum you can donate is $6,600 per person. So between you and your wife, you can donate up to $13,200. But please, yes, this is how we run our campaigns. You can follow me on Instagram at American Sheriff, on Truth Social at American Sheriff, on Twitter at Sheriff Lamb 1, on Facebook at Sheriff Lamb. I know I should probably have them all the same, but I didn't intend on running for Senate. So I intended on having a solid brand called American Sheriff. So that's part of the reason why it's different. So.
And your website is?
My website is sherifflam.com or sherifflamforsenate.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Give Janelle a hug for us. And thank you for all your time. Good luck with everything. And God bless.
Thank you. God bless you both. Thank you for having me on.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Mark. Bye-bye.
Mark Lamb.
There is nothing in here that I could say bad about him being the senator. And like I said, I've seen interviews. I watch Friday with Frank, and I watch all these shows.
Now, his name's not Frank. So
I know
what's
it,
Friday
but
with Frank?
It's a
For people that don't know.
well, it's one of the he patrols in Pinal County,
Okay.
and he writes tickets to people who are excessive speeding. And it's
very
interesting.
entertaining videos.
Yes, it is. It's very interesting. And
because nobody was ever actually speeding, right? The stories that people come up with.
and
but-
Mark's been on a couple of those shows, but I just say, it's like, if you're a criminal and you get caught, but you're treated like the Constitution says you're supposed to be treated, you're protected.
Yeah.
Then they do have some respect for that.
Yeah. They really do. And it is funny because on the Fridays with Frank, everybody, they have a million different excuses to say, no, I wasn't really doing whatever it was you said I was doing. But you're right. It's a very respectful way that people talk to each other, even though they're getting a ticket or, I think you've even arrested some people on there. But back to Sheriff Mark Lamb, the fact that he has run such a fine department, and that they all are very constitutionally based. So the proof is in the pudding. We've already seen Mark Lamb at work in leadership positions, very difficult leadership positions. And I like that even though we are a Second Amendment based show and all of our advocacy is based in the Second Amendment, I like that he pointed out what a huge issue, the issue of the day, is our border. And the fact that the other side, like to a person, I've never heard somebody on the other side say that, no, we really need to rein in what's happening at the border. And so then they are endorsing lawlessness. They're endorsing child trafficking and sex trafficking of females and bringing in fentanyl. They're endorsing it. They're saying, yes, this is what we want. Like, how can you vote for the other side knowing that?
Right.
So for me, as we mentioned, KTR is acting like it's a two-person race. It's like, no, it's a one-sided race. It's the Constitution, period. And if you want the Constitution and experience, then there you go. We just talked to the guy that's running. That would be the person to support. But
Is it
we'll see
KTR?
how it all turns out.
Is it KTR or KTAR?
Why?
I don't know. I thought it was KTAR.
Why?
I don't know. They're doing sticky stuff. I don't know.
Oh. That was a really bad.
I know.
That was a really bad dad joke.
But it is, it's funny. So the media is not talking about how many people are coming across the border. There's hundreds and thousands of these people coming, and they're keeping it quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Why are they keeping it quiet? But
I'm not smart enough to know really all the reasons, but I know what should be. I know what our founders set in place, and that's all that I need to hold people accountable to.
But then yet
hopefully-
somebody that wants to come from England that has a job here
Mhm,
and wants to work here because he loves the freedom,
mhm,
2 years
mhm,
and $10,000 deposit
mhm,
just to start the work.
mhm,
We have a gentleman that wants to come here to work,
mhm.
and it's 2 years.
It's crazy.
But then I told him, just go to
It's
Mexico
broken.
and cross the border.
Yeah.
Right? Yep.
Yeah, please don't do that.
No.
But yeah, the system is broken, as Sheriff Lamb indicated, and we need to start really being informed voters so that we can reset the line and hire people with our votes that are truly going to be public servants and not just tickle our ears with pretty words. So anyway, thank you again to Sheriff Mark Lamb. Thank you to all of our amazing listeners all over the planet. Wherever there's internet, we have listeners and viewers, and your time is your most finite resource. When you spend it with us, we recognize it, we value it, we thank you.
And please share this, because we're only like 30 days from the elections, the time this runs.
Mhm.
30 days before the primary. Would you
Mhm.
please share this video? And
Absolutely. Get the word out. Absolutely. Talk to your neighbors and, debate, bring up the pros, the cons, who you think is better for the job, and work through the issue. Don't just shut down and, figure that everybody's going to agree with you automatically. All right. So before we go, I do want to talk about a product that some good friends of ours have created, the Hills, Brian and Shelley Hill. Is called Locked In Grip. So when you're out on the range and it's starting to heat up out there, you need something like this. It is a liquid shooting sports chalk, and it has a no slip. It's better traction, heightened connection for safer, faster shooting, and it was made for shooters by shooters. It is called Locked In Grip. Buy it at lockedingrip.com. Tell them Dan and Cheryl sent you. And we are talking about the United States of America, and we love to support American jobs on American soil to make American-made products. And one way that you can do that is to join this invitation-only private shopping club. It is patriothousehold.com/GFR for Gun Freedom Radio. That gives us a tiny little piece of every dollar you spend. The Second Amendment Foundation gets a tiny piece of every dollar that you spend to fuel the work that they're doing to help support our Second Amendment. This is like your laundry soap, your skincare, even delicious snacks and steaks, beef products, ground beef. It's called Riverbend Ranch. Amazing products. patriothousehold.com/GFR. You can shop online as you need items, but I like to set my order and forget it. And the convenience is amazing. It shows up on my front porch. I love it. I've never been disappointed with anything I've bought there. Quality, convenience, American jobs. What's not to love? patriothousehold.com/GFR. All right. If you want to go back and listen or to watch any portion of this video or any of our videos, you can go to YouTube, GunStreamer, or the OpsLens smartphone app. When you go, please click the notification and subscription buttons, because that tells those platforms that you value these conversations, you value the topics we talk about, and the subject matter experts that we bring on. And if you want to listen to the audio only version, go to our website, GunFreedomRadio.com, click the On Demand tab, and
binge listen to your heart content, darling.
oh my. He was very fancy. If you're watching the video, it's quite fancy just then. And if you want to see the links and bios to all of the guests we've ever had on, including Sheriff Mark Lamb, go to the guest tab. It is an ever-growing body of work of subject matter experts. And when you spend time there, we don't hate that. All right. Until next time, we are going to pray for our nation. Ooh, in unison. Pray for our leaders. What about the ones you don't like, Dan?
All of them.
Maybe especially the ones you don't like. All right. Until next time, be good to each other. Have a great week, and God bless.
Bye-bye.